Hey all, it is I, Anthony the Wrestling Guy, and welcome to WrestleSode. I'm very excited to be announcing this one here for you this week. I'm like completely geeked out. Today, I get to bring you my interview with Heavy Metal, one of the most synonymous names in Alberta wrestling, one of the most iconic wrestlers here over the last 20 years. He has wrestled so many giant names. He's won so many matches against giant names. He is legitimately one of the best here in Alberta, and he barely ever does interviews. I was so lucky to be able to land this one here. I legitimately cannot say enough good stuff about Heavy Metal. I can't wait to give you this interview. Now, just a thing to note, on Thursday, June 23rd, Heavy Metal is running his first show in Edmonton at the Midway. It's happening at Midway, and it's an 18-plus show. They're bringing a bunch of different awesome talent like Jody Threat and Aeroboy. There's going to be a lot of great local talent. Like I said, Heavy Metal is going to be there. We're going to see the original Marky. We're going to see Big Jesse Youngblood again. We're going to see Marz the Specialist. There's going to be so many great names at the show, and I'm going to be there. So that's going to be really exciting. I can't wait. I'm going up tomorrow, which is why there's going to be no live WrestleSode tonight, but that's okay. We have interviews coming up for you next week as well. So don't go anywhere when it comes to that. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet, so you can get more of our amazing interviews. We have done so well here on the Canadian Wrestling Archive. But anyways, enough about that. I just want to get you into this interview with Heavy Metal. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and with such a live and amazing Q&A section as well. Anyways, enjoy. Thank you once again to Heavy Metal for joining me here for today. Like I said, I'm kind of a little starstruck because it's not like every day somebody lands an interview with Heavy Metal. And as I have said on the stream so many different times, there are specific names that are quintessential to the Alberta wrestling scene, and Heavy Metal is definitely at the top of that list. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So obviously we have a lot of different questions to get through here today. There's a lot of really cool, awesome stuff happening, but I kind of want to start all the way at the beginning, kind of start off nice and slow. Heavy Metal, obviously wrestling is something that's super important in your life. How did it start in your life? How did Heavy Metal love wrestling to begin with?
You know, I wish I had like a cool backstory, but I was just a kid that loved wrestling. I grew up playing hockey, watching wrestling. Those were my two loves, you know. And when I stopped playing hockey, I was about 13 years old, and I was just a kid with anxiety. You know, I didn't like going to school. I didn't like talking to people. I didn't like doing any of that stuff. So ended up finding a pro wrestling school in Edmonton, and that's just kind of how it started for me. It kind of saved my childhood and put me right here today. So
that's amazing. So you started at a really young age then? You found your first wrestling school at 13?
Yeah, I started training when I was 13 years old. And by the time I started traveling, I think I started taking my first road bookings when I was 15. I was just lying to promoters saying I was 18.
Well, I guess that's how people did it back in the day. But that's amazing to know. So you've been doing this then for quite a while then, huh?
Yeah, nearly 20 years, coming up pretty close. So
that's insane. So what really made you have that drive, though? You were just like, I don't like anything else right now. I'm just going to go to this school. I'm going to lie, and I'm going to be a wrestler.
Well, they knew that I was 13 going into the school. They had like an under 18 program. I decided to lie to promoters along the way. But yeah, it was just something that I loved. I went to like a 2-day mini camp, and I just fell in love with it. When I went home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So from there, I just kind of steamrolled into, I think at that time I was training 6 days a week. You know, I think Sundays were the only days that I, wasn't training when I was younger. So it just kind of steamrolled from there, and I fell in love with every aspect of it.
So it's just crazy to think it's like 13-year-old Heavy Metal. Like you get up in the morning, you're going to school. As soon as school's over, just training all night then?
Pretty much, yeah. So I did I did correspondence when I was younger. I used to travel a lot as well.
Oh, okay.
So, I would do like a bit of like homeschooling. So I'd work in front of a computer, doing my schoolwork. And then I think like twice a week or something like that, I'd go sit in a classroom. So I had like the luxury of being able to travel and like take my homework on the road. And as long as it was getting done, then, I was free to travel and take whatever bookings I wanted to take. So.
Were you one of those kids who actually enjoyed school? Like, did you enjoy that aspect of it, or were you always just like, this isn't wrestling?
No, I was not a kid that enjoyed school. I didn't enjoy going to school. I didn't enjoy being around other kids. I didn't really enjoy a whole lot of it. So wrestling was just kind of like the saving grace for me, where I could be around people that also shared like the same interests that I shared, right? So.
What was it about wrestling as a kid that really made you fall in love with it? Was it the characters, like the larger-than-life personalities? Was it like the athleticism? Like, what do you think really made you gravitate towards it?
I don't know if I can like pinpoint one thing. It had to have been like the characters, because I mean, just like any Canadian growing up, I grew up idolizing Bret the Hitman Hart, right? So I think everybody grew up wanting to be the Hitman. At that time, there wasn't like crazy characters in wrestling. You had the Bret Harts, the Stone Colds, the Rock, stuff like that. And then just like the sheer atmosphere. I grew up watching like Attitude Era Wrestling, right? So when you're watching that on television, the atmosphere is just insane. It's electric, right? So I think I was just glued to that. And I don't know what exactly it was about it. The physicality, the way that the characters looked, the way that they were portrayed on TV, all of it was just something that I just had to be a part of.
Where were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up other than Bret Hart then? So you said you kind of watched the Attitude Era. Did you really like gravitate towards certain people?
Honestly, I love Bret Hart. Yeah, that was like that was my dude,
That was your guy.
My brother loved like Shawn Michaels, so we always had that offset rivalry, But outside of that, I was Hart Foundation all the way, anytime that my dad would take me to like a WWE Raw or anything like that would come to town, I was there solely to see the Hart Foundation. That's what it was, I think every kid loves like the Undertaker and stuff like that too, and I was drawn to those characters, but there was just something about the Hitman. It just kept me coming back,
Spoken like a true Canadian. I mean, that's how I think a lot of people felt that way, especially about Bret Hart. How about these days? Do you still pay attention to a lot of the like what you would call professional, like top like AEW, WWE wrestling? Because you're a pretty busy guy. Do you still have time to watch that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I'll try to watch. I watch AEW whenever I can. I like to stay up to date on like the weekly product. Same thing with WWE. I'll always get around to the pay-per-views. A lot of times I don't have time to like sit and watch them live, which sucks because I like to watch them live. I feel like there's like when I try to watch them back recorded, it's not like the same feeling, right? Usually if I'm scrolling Twitter, somebody's already ruined something. So but I usually try to keep up with the product the best that I can. And I try to keep up with all of them, whether it's WWE, AEW, Impact. I love my PWG. I love stuff like that. So I try to watch. Literally, my life is wrestling. I wake up in the morning, especially these days. I'm doing stuff to try to prepare for the school, prepare business. I'll come here for like a solo workout in the afternoon. I'll go home. I'll feed my dog. I'll eat. I'll come back in the evening to train. I go home. I sleep. I do the next day. I do everything all over again. So it's literally I eat, breathe, sleep wrestling right now.
That's amazing. And we have a lot of really cool things to obviously talk about with regards to this, but let's pull it back just a smidge here. So you started wrestling. You obviously lied about your age. You started taking road bookings at 15. Now, when it comes to the Alberta scene, obviously a lot of people know you, especially from the RCW scene. How did that come about? How did you eventually meet Steven Styles? How did you start wrestling for RCW?
Oh, man. Honestly, he didn't have like the greatest reputation when I first started working for him. He wasn't he wasn't doing shows inside the city limits or anything like that because there was a governing body at the time, like a commissioner. So he wasn't allowed to operate within city limits. So every now and then when I wanted like extra dates and stuff like that, I'd hit him up and I'd be like, hey, look, I'm available this weekend, because he was always running consistently. And then, he just kind of got easier to deal with. He started bringing better talent all the time and, taking care of guys, and eventually got into like the Edmonton market. So I can't remember like a specific meeting that I had with him, because a lot of things with him are just like, you can send him a message and it's done, So I can't specifically remember one instance where we met for the first time or anything like that.
It's just, it's been in the past. Obviously, you've been doing this 20 years, like you said, almost, right? So it happened sometime in the ether, as they would say.
Yeah. It would have happened quite a while ago. I mean, I've been working with him on and off for many years. I mean, I went for a stint, probably about 5 years, where I never worked for him. Just kind of worked other places, but he's always been good to me. So, here I am.
Absolutely. Well, so how did heavy metal come about? Did you start off with that as your persona? Have you just grown that over time, or did you go through the phase where you had multiple fun little names and sides and stuff?
I had multiple names. Finding a character that worked for me was not something that was easy. Heavy metal was given to me by the promoter that I was working with at that time. I wasn't in love with it then. I'm not really in love with it now. It's just one of those things that I've made work over the years, you know. But prior to that, I was going through name changes constantly, trying to figure out what worked, what didn't work, you know. But a lot of that wasn't like, I wasn't able to be myself, you know, because I was a 13, 14-year-old kid, and I was being told, hey, this is what you need to do. This is, you know, this is going to be your name. This is going to be your name. Whereas like for me, I try to like preach to people like wrestling has to be you, your character has to be you, but it has to be cranked up to 100, right? And I didn't really get that luxury. So I managed to take like the heavy metal name and make it my own. And I've kind of put my own spin on it over the years where like, I mean, there's nothing heavy metal about me anymore these days, you know? So, but yeah, I was put through the ringer with a lot of different gimmicks and a lot of different names.
So are you trying to say that you're not legitimately from Nashville? Is that what we're
I am not legitimately from Nashville. No. I hate to break some hearts out there.
Oh, it hurts me right here. So obviously you started training. You've been wrestling obviously for a few years. And in the last couple of years, you obviously decided you're going to go all out. You're like, you know what? I'm starting my own wrestling school. As you can see, a beautiful stage behind you. And
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Looks very nice. Can you talk a little bit about Top Talent Wrestling Academy?
Yeah. What do you want to know? You tell me. You lead the charge.
Well, what made you want to start Top Talent? Let's start with that. And like, what made you want to be a teacher, essentially, of wrestling?
Even before I started the school, humbly, I always had people coming up and asking for critiques and advice. That's what I love. I love when people come up and they ask me to watch matches. I think it's just, I think it's the coolest thing, you know, that somebody respects your work enough to ask you of your opinion. I think that that's such a humbling and special thing for me specifically. So the starting of Top Talent Pro Wrestling was very simple. Lance Storm had shut down his school, and there wasn't really a reputable place to train in Alberta anymore. If you scanned like the landscape at that time, there were really no schools that were kicking around, and there were none that you knew were going to stay open long enough to be able to actually like sink your teeth into things. So I felt like there's a void here. We should try to fill that. And I've had this ring for many, many years, and it just kind of was one of those things where I was super busy at the time and fully invested in wrestling, where I thought, you know what, I'm going to open up a school. I'm going to give existing talent a place where they can come perfect their craft, and hopefully a place where aspiring wrestlers want to come and also learn and be able to perfect their craft. So, and it just kind of happened on a whim, to be honest with you. I had always kept my eyes peeled for like warehouses and stuff like that. And man, it just all happened so quickly. I remember one day I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go look at this warehouse. And I did, and I fell in love with it, and I could visualize everything that I wanted to see. You know, I have a very specific vision for what I wanted for my school and what I continue to want for my school and my business. And, you know, the space just kind of checked all the boxes. Once you have that, it just started steamrolling from there.
It takes a very special type of person, because I will say this, starting a wrestling school, I can imagine, from the business aspect, is completely different than you would probably imagine when you're starting it off. It's not as simple as just putting a ring inside of a room and starting to wrestle. There's a lot of logistics to go around the business side of things. How did you feel you adapted to that, especially because, like you said, you weren't big on school, for instance? So
yeah. I think I was big on this type of school. I've always enjoyed like the wrestling learning environment. I love going to seminars. I love learning from different teachers. So this type of environment, I don't really relate to like a school, but adapting to the business aspect of it was, that was a challenge, because like, I didn't just, you know, get a warehouse bay to throw a ring into to just have people come in the door and do whatever. I started a legitimate business. I went through all the appropriate channels. I invested the money where I was supposed to invest the money. You know, I have everything in place to be a legitimate business so that this could be like a long-term thing. And with that came a lot of learning, like, and on the job learning, you know, realizing, oh, okay, I can't like operate this way. Oh, I need to be able to like do this way. Oh, you need insurance, you need a business license, you need this, you need that. There's a lot of things that come into play with owning and operating your business. And there's a lot of things that like, people don't really understand that aspect of it. I think that they do just think, oh, look at that ring inside that bay, but they don't understand the financials that go into it, the work that goes into it, the time that goes into it, the growth, like just the sheer amount of money and time that you have to spend to grow the space, you know. because when I did put my ring in the first building that we had, it was literally just the ring. It didn't look anything like this, and just over time, I wanted to grow and make it look like a studio where talent could come in, and if they want to film something, they could film something. We had pandemic times, so the ability to be able to have a kind of like an in-house studio was beneficial too. So, man, there were a lot of growing pains, and just trying to figure that out on the fly was a difficult task,
That's really awesome, though. But like you said, it's not as simple as just throwing a ring in there. And you've done such a great job with that. How is Top Talent doing right now? Are you guys taking in students right now? How often are you guys doing classes and stuff?
Yeah, so I'm here. I literally wrestle 7 days a week. It's wild. Sometimes I'll take a Sunday off if we don't have a show, but I'm here Monday to Thursday teaching class, usually Fridays and Saturdays, and a lot of Sundays now I'm doing shows. So it's literally a 7-day rotation for me for wrestling. I am currently taking students for the next intake. I do 3-month programs. So the last 3-month program just ended at the beginning of this month. June 14th kickstarts the next one. And I think I have like 6 students that are signed up for that so far. So that's pretty exciting. And this will be like the first one where like the world's wide open and people are able to like comfortably register, not wondering if we're going to get like shut down or if there's going to be like any protocols that we have to follow or vaccine mandates or anything like that. So you could definitely see a difference between like setting up this intake and any of the previous ones that I've done, because a lot of this growth was done through the pandemic, which was tough to do. So
that's so cool. It's really great to see. And are you doing like groups of like 6 to 8 people or something? You're trying to keep it a little bit smaller so you can really kind of like focus on them instead of just like overloading classes, I assume?
Yeah. So generally I'll do, depending on like the applicants, I don't really like to go above like 6 or 7 people. And the reason is because I just want to be able to allot enough time for each person to be able to get the ring time that they need to grow. I think that there's a lot of schools out there that'll take on 10, 20 students and put them all through the ringer. But the thing is, I believe like quality, not quantity. So at the end of the intake, I want everybody that survives and comes out the other end and graduates to be good and good enough to carry on the Top Talent name. And I don't want them struggling. I don't want them being left behind or anything like that. So I usually try to cap it like 6 to 8 people, and just so that I can work with them one-on-one enough so that they aren't feeling like, if they don't get something, they're not just getting left in the dust, right? So
absolutely. Are you guys doing any more of those 2-day mini camps anytime, or weekend mini camps anytime soon? Because I've always said that I need to try it one of these days, because
you should.
I sit here and talk about wrestling enough that I should get my ass in a ring one of these days and take a few bumps. In my opinion, I should get there.
You should. You'd probably love it, to be honest with you. I do still do the weekend mini camps. I haven't done one in a while just because the schedule's been absolutely crazy, but I am hoping to do one at the end of July. The summer ones are always a hit because you can put the bay door open and you can, stack classes and everybody's hot and, they just put in that work and they grind it out. So it's a cool atmosphere that it makes, right? But we still do them when the schedule permits. So hopefully at the end of July, I'll be able to do the next installment of it, and hopefully people are able to come out for it. It's a cool little introductory to it, whether you're doing it to figure out if you want to be a pro wrestler, or whether you're doing it just to see if you like it, or if you're like, we have people that come in that just do it strictly for fitness aspects, because they get to come in and they get a good sweat on, and, there's boxing and there's MMA gyms and there's stuff where you can go try out different sports and get workouts done, but there's not really something for wrestling. I'm really trying to tap into that market and give people the opportunity to come and experience wrestling, and hopefully they fall in love with it and want to keep doing it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, so this will be a pretty fun one. So you said obviously your schedule has been pretty tight as of late. Let's talk a little bit. So you've been a champion wrestler, wrestling across Alberta and Western Canada. You've become a owner of a wrestling academy with Top Talent Wrestling Academy, and then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna change other things too. I'm gonna run an awesome freaking show called We're Live, Pal, and I'm gonna build tons of hype. Nothing seems to stop you. Can you talk a little bit about We're Live, Pal?
Yeah. You tell me. What do you want to know?
So tell us a little bit about when it is and what you've kind of got planned, what you've announced so far. I'm sure there's things that you haven't announced that we're not going to be too privy to, but chat a little bit about what's been announced so far.
Yeah, so we're Live Pal is going to take place at Midway in Edmonton, Alberta on Thursday, June 23rd. It is an 18 plus show, and it's going to be a lot of fun, man. We have Game Changer Wrestling's Jordan Oliver come to town. I have the privilege of being able to wrestle him, which is presented by the Canadian Wrestling Archive. Thank you so much for the support for that. This card is stacked, man. We have Aeroboy coming in straight from Mexico. If you want to see like a legitimate luchador that is just plain badass and somebody that I've been following for a very, very long time, you'll want to see this dude because he's insanely talented, and he gets to go one-on-one with the Omen Gabriel, who in his own right is insanely talented and spent a considerable time in Mexico. So that one should be a lot of fun. We've announced Jody Threat versus Eva Lawless. You're literally going to witness two of the very best ladies in Canada link up and probably tear it up, to be honest with you. I'm really excited for that one. Jody's wild. Eva Lawless is really coming into her own. Let's see, what else did we announce? A huge ladder match, which is actually the original Marky's last match. That's like a bittersweet thing for me. I've had a lot of wars with Marky, so seeing it come to an end and knowing it's not with me is a bit heartbreaking, but I know that these guys are going to tear it up. That one's going to have Marky, the Destroyer, Rayden, Colton Kelly, Jesse Youngblood. I'm drawing a blank here. Dean Richtor, and those guys are gonna tear the house down. It's gonna be insane. T.Y. Jackson's also in that one, who is just that kid, man, is insanely wild. So he's probably the dark horse that I'm looking forward to seeing with a bunch of tools and toys. So. That's what we've announced so far. You're going to have UFC fighter Mitch Clark. You're going to have current UFC fighter Tanner Bozer in the house too. We have a few other surprises up our sleeve too, so it should be a lot of fun.
I so can't wait for that. Like I've been counting down the days. I took vacation literally like the day it was announced. I'm like going to my boss. I'm like, I need these days. I actually took 2 days off, and then like, no, you know what? I need the Wednesday now too. So I like went back and like I need extra days for this. So I'm super duper excited. Let's talk a little bit about Midway, because my God, what a beautiful venue you've managed to get for this. Like this is, I saw the pictures. I haven't had the opportunity to be there by myself yet, but I will be getting there. But man, this place looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm pumped about it. Midway's a beautiful space. One thing that I was really looking for with this event was to give it a feel like nothing you've ever seen before. Wrestling in this market is so rich. You know, there's so much talent. There's so many shows. You can find a show on any given week. But the one thing that it's missing is a space that just has AV production and like full production value. And this venue is going to blow all of that away. You know, I love Legion Wrestling. I love wrestling under one spotlight and as much as the next guy, but like, being able to have that lighting, being able to have that sound, being able to have like that big LED screen there, a platform stage, you know, like there's a lot of things that are going to go into this, that just the appearance of the event alone should hopefully wow people. And then when you throw in the wrestling, I think it's really going to come into its own as a wild night of wrestling action. So the whole goal with this was pretty much to do something that nobody else has done. Nobody else has been able to do. And really just make it different and separate it from everything else in the market. So I think we're going to do that.
Man, I am super, like, I just keep thinking about this. Like, I've had vacations in the past, but I haven't been as excited. Like, how excited I am to go to, like, Edmonton, like, of all places, right? Like, it's like, this is going to be, like, my vacation of the year. I'm super excited for this. Now, I know all of your VIP tickets, like, have already sold out. Is that, like, literally, like, in a day or something like that, right?
Yeah, so we did that in 2 hours, actually. So Midway emailed me because when tickets went on sale, you know, you just have the stress. You always have stress when it comes to a show. You wonder if people are going to like it. You wonder if they're going to support you. You wonder if you have the reach that you think that you have. There's just a lot of stresses that come with trying to do these types of events. And Midway emailed me after 2 hours, and they're like, "Hey, we're all sold out of these tickets. Congratulations. we haven't had an event that has sold like this in terms of like VIP sales. And I was like, oh man, that's wild, So that was a good start to that day. And things have been trickling along like really, really nicely. So I'm really excited about it. I was very, very pumped that the VIP sold out the way that they did. Man, I'm excited. And time is flying by very, very quickly. I just realized this week that we're like just over 2 weeks out. So time is flying by for this.
Yeah, it's like 16 days. I want something like that. It's like 2 weeks and like a day, like 2 days.
Yeah, don't stress me out.
I mean, it's like 4 months away. You've got all the time in the world. But
yeah, I'm very excited about it. So it's going to be a good night.
What made you really make the decision to do it as an 18 plus show? Did you really want to make it have that like fun party atmosphere, not having to worry about kids running around? Was that really?
No, it's kind of like a double-edged sword because I love all ages of events. I think that kids bring a lot to the atmosphere for pro wrestling shows. I think that they're so invested, and it's cool for me to be able to see them in the audience and be able to connect with them. But for this one specifically, it happened to be a venue thing, and a lot of the events that like I love to watch, whether it's like PWG, stuff like that, they're all generally 18 plus events. They're all like, you don't need to worry about any of the content that you're putting out or anything like that. So I just wanted to, with Midway, and when I realized, oh, okay, cool, this is the venue that I want, this is the vision that I want. I just wanted something where you can jam pack a bunch of wrestling fans in there around a ring where they can eat, they can drink, they can have a good time, they can enjoy like the full production value and enjoy like this wild wrestling that they're not going to be able to see anywhere else, and just be able to make it a full experience, right? So everything, we just kind of checked all the boxes with it. So it just ended up being one of those things that was just like, listen, I want that venue. That's what I want, and that just so happened to be what came along with it. So I'm sorry to anybody that's not 18, because this is going to be a wild show, but hopefully we'll be able to put it out to you, and you'll still be able to experience it. But yeah, for those that are 18 plus, this will be the one place that you'll want to be in Edmonton.
I'm sure someone in chat will link. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, please go. I'm sure there's probably not too many left at this point because it's been out, but I assume ticket sales are doing really well.
Yeah, ticket sales are going really, really well. Like I said, it's always a stress. I stress about everything. I stress about the school. I stress about the show. I stress about everything. So tickets are going really, really well. Hopefully it does well. Yeah, and hopefully there'll be many more to come after it. So you never know.
Man, so is that a little bit of a hint right there? If this does well, potentially more?
Maybe. You never know.
I'm trying to pull something out of you.
You know what the coolest thing about this actually was? It wasn't even like I was really excited about like the announcement and being able to drop news and stuff like that. But the coolest thing about this was actually being able to connect with the talent, because I know you and I had like a brief conversation as well at one point where you're like, hey man, what's going on with the show? And everybody had been asking that for so long, because I didn't tell anybody. I literally, the coolest thing about this was like everybody that I had visioned to be a part of this product, I literally just sent a message to and connected with them, was like, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. This is the date. I gave them no details. I didn't tell them who was on it. I didn't tell them where it was. I didn't tell them what town it was. I didn't give them any details whatsoever. I just said, look, if you're free on this date, I'd love to be able to do something for you or with you for top talent, And I expected to have to field like a lot of questions. I expected a lot of people to be like, hey, what's going on? Like, give me more details. But the coolest thing about this was everybody that I connected with, without question and without hesitation, just said, yes, you tell us when and we'll be there. They didn't ask anything more than the date, And that was a very cool thing for me to be able to know that, these incredible talents trust me, and they support me, and I didn't because knowing me, you know what I mean, you just never know what you're going to get sometimes. I remember when I first started the Top Talent Wrestling Academy, I had announced for it to open on April 1st, which was April Fool's Day, so everybody thought I was legitimately joking at the school opening up. So sometimes you just never know what you're going to get, but like it was very, very cool and very humbling for me to know that that these talents just supported the vision, right? So that was the coolest part about putting this whole thing together for me.
It seems like everybody has been incredibly receptive. Everybody who I've talked to about We're Live Pal or anything that Top Talent has been touching, like legitimately over the course of 3 years, nobody's had anything bad to say. Everybody only says the very best about Top Talent, about your school, about you as a wrestler, as somebody who has been, I guess you could say, like teaching and guiding Alberta wrestlers for almost 2 generations now. It seems like 2 decades. Because I guess in a certain way, because you've been here so long, you've probably seen a lot of the different Alberta wrestlers who are out there these days come in, start out, grow into their own, and you've probably seen a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You see a lot of guys come and go. And it's always cool. It's always very cool to watch the next generation. I sometimes forget just how young like this next crop of talent is coming up. Like guys like T.Y. Jackson, Marz the Specialist. When you realize their age, you realize, oh man, I'm way older than you now, Sometimes like it takes talking to those guys to put that in perspective, and then seeing just how talented they are at such a young age, and so early on in their careers is like, wow, I wish when I was that young and breaking into the industry that I had like a fraction of the talent that these guys had, So it's very, very interesting to see. A little scary.
Well, when you've been helping guide a lot of these different talents, people like a T.Y. Jackson that you've said, who's like very young and who's got crazy, amazing talent and abilities and stuff. Do you feel like your role, not necessarily, but like, do you feel like you get the most in wrestling when it comes to being the coach, to helping people find their way?
I think it's rewarding. Absolutely. I think it's very cool that people put their trust into you and they seek you out for advice. I never like to take credit for any of that stuff because it's all their hard work. I'll give you the tools, but like, you have to be able to do something with those tools. You have to be able to build with those tools. Right. And you get a lot of guys that come in and maybe they don't, maybe they're not very receptive to what you have to offer them. But if you come in with an open mind and you take these tools and you put them to work, then I mean, whatever success comes your way comes from your commitment from it, right? So I don't really like to take credit for any of that stuff because I just give them a platform and I give them knowledge, but it's them. They put it to work. They manage to, like T.Y. Jackson in general. I'll scream it to the moon and back, man. That kid is crazy talented. He's fearless. The amount of times that him and I will be in here with just like a crash pad, seeing who can outdo who, and he'll always win. I'll always be doing like these wild flips, and I'll literally be looking out and go, hear me out. What if we add this? And he'll get up there and he'll hit it. Like after 1 or 2 tries, he'll hit it. So it's always cool to know that these guys trust you and they believe in you, and they'll take your words to heart. But yeah, I mean, it's all them. At the end of the day, I'm just a guy here to try to help them learn from my mistakes, right?
That's such a humble answer, just by the way. But everybody will say it's like you've taught them so many great things and seen so many great things. Like I've said, I could name, I couldn't even name all the different people who would say great things about you as a teacher. But I have a couple of quick questions for you because I would love to boil this down into a couple of different things. What do you think the most important thing to being a successful wrestler would be? If you could boil it down maybe into like 2 or 3 things, what are the most important things to being a wrestler?
Hard work, commitment, being humble. Those would be 3 key things that I have been preaching over and over for the past little while. It takes commitment to this and understanding that like not every day is going to be a good day. Sometimes you're going to be happy. Sometimes you're going to be mad. Sometimes you're going to get frustrated. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days, but you just have to commit. If you commit to it, you'll get what you put in, and work hard. You always have to work hard at anything you do, whether it's wrestling or any industry you want to be successful in. You put in the work, right? And a lot of the guys and girls that come through here, they put in the work and they do commit. You just have to be humble, understand that like, not everybody can have opportunity, understand that like sometimes you're going to get told no, sometimes you're going to get overlooked, sometimes you're going to have your heart broken, and you just have to be humble about it and learn how to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and get back to work and figure out, okay, cool, this didn't work. What do I have to do to get to that next level, and just enjoy the process. That's something that I'm trying to learn over the years is to enjoy the process, because like I said, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, but man, we don't get to do this forever, you know? And when you like peel back the layers and you get to look at it, like the performance aspect of wrestling, the fact that you get to travel and do something that you love, like I'm in a position that I'm very grateful for, where like I don't have a secondary job. I wrestle, you know. Wrestling pays my bills. The school is sustainable. So I think it's so important to be able to just like take a step back and go, oh, wow, okay, well, that was my goal in the very beginning, to make a living in wrestling, right? So right now, like for this aspect of my career, I'm just trying to enjoy the process. Any opportunity that comes my way, great. Any match that comes my way, awesome. You know, any chance to work with talent, fantastic. You know, whatever I can give back is super cool. And yeah, you just got to try to trust the process and enjoy the road that you're on, you know?
I'll just say it like this, because of the way you said that. You literally are living the dream of so many people and kids out there, because you can legitimately say, I am a professional wrestler for a living, and that's what I do. Like, what a cool thing to be able to say, right?
Legitimately, sometimes I do need to take a step back and appreciate it, because I think that everybody gets like wrapped up in a lot of different things, whether it's wrestling or life or whatever. And sometimes you just have to take a step back and like appreciate your accomplishments, and appreciate the work that you put in, and just like appreciate that the life that you're able to live with whatever occupation is allowing you to do that. And for me, that just so happens to be wrestling. Because I mean, I used to starve on the road when I was younger. I used to be on the road and make towns, making $25 and sleeping in cars or sleeping on couches, or just enough money to buy a drink at the after party or whatever. So the goal always was for me, like the goal always is going to be to continue to get better and go as far as I can go. But the goal for me has always been to be able to do that and make a living, you know, to do that, to be able to pay my rent, to be able to put food on the table, make my car payment, you know. So everything that you see here comes from wrestling. The facility comes from money that I made wrestling. The ring, the upkeep on it, everything, all the banners and all the like turnbuckles, everything comes from, you know, having earned a living in wrestling. Sometimes you just have to take a step back. For me specifically, anyways, I have to take a step back and go, wow, okay, cool. Like, not very many people could say that. It's truly is like a very cool thing. So sometimes you have to just like appreciate that, you know?
Oh, it's so beautiful to hear you talk about that kind of stuff, man. It's like I'm sitting here, it's like I'm just a fan in the audience just listening to you talk right now. It's so nice. But I do know that we'll have to move into the Q&A section here sooner than later, because I could probably ask a million different questions and keep you here all night. But I know there's a lot of great people out there who have asked some amazing questions, and we want to get those answered as well. So if we would like to send those questions over to me for my lovely mods, please and thank you. Would you like to take a minute, by the way? Have a drink of water, you run to the washroom, whatever you'd like. We can take a minute if you'd like.
Oh, I'm all good, man. I got my water right beside me. I'm all set.
You're used to going 60 minutes quite often. Like, this is a thing that you're good to do.
I have been preparing for this moment, Anthony.
You're just like, I was doing it in the ring. That was the test for wrestle. So that's the one.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So we have a bunch of different questions here for you. Oh, this will be a fun one from Mike the Ref to start us off. How did you feel to play the Undertaker in the Clandestine Society?
Oh, awkward and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, very awkward and uncomfortable. You take like an environment where there's no people and there's no nothing, just in front of your peers in general, you're already under a microscope. You put me in a wig and a hat and a cloak, that just like that just amplifies that times 1,000. So yeah, that was uncomfortable. Fun to look back on, but I don't think you'll ever see me as the Undertaker again.
No? Well, I guess at the end of the day, you want to be having fun. Maybe if there was the crowd there, you'd have felt different. Maybe like people there going crazy for the gong. You know, maybe it would have been different.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps. Yeah, for sure. When you get that environment there that appreciates that stuff, for sure. Yeah, but I don't know. Never say never. Never say never. Maybe the Undertaker could make a resurgence here. Who knows? You know, anything can happen in wrestling.
Awesome. All right, here's a quick question from It's D. I guess this is in relation to you starting training at 13. How did your parents feel about you starting training and stuff at such a young age?
Oh, they were supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were fully supportive because I think that they knew that I was having, I was just like a kid that was having trouble with school and stuff like that, right? And I always came from like a sporting background. I grew up ever since I can remember playing hockey on teams and everything like that, right? So they knew that of like sports is my thing. So I think that they could probably see that the time between I stopped playing hockey and like picked up wrestling, there's probably like a little bit of a void there where you're not doing the things that you love to do. So it was actually their idea. So I remember seeing like this commercial on TV, like Shaw used to have like an access channel 7 or something like that. And this commercial used to air like once every hour, and I used to sit in front of the TV and watch this commercial play over and over and over, thinking I gotta find a way to get there, right? And it actually ended up being through like a schooling program that my parents got in touch with another set of parents that had their kid in wrestling, and they're the ones that they supported me. They supported me getting out on the road. They supported me traveling. The one thing that I had to do was just make sure that A, I was being responsible, and B, that I was just getting my schoolwork and stuff done. So I didn't want wrestling to get taken away from me. So I did all that.
Do you still enjoy hockey? Like you said, that was kind of like your first sport there.
Yeah, so I don't watch it anymore very much. Unfortunately, I just kind of fell out of love with that aspect of it. On occasion, I'll still play it. I'm not nearly as good as what I used to be. Getting on skates, they say it's like riding a bike. I beg to differ. I am not as good on skates as I used to be. That's for sure. I have no idea how I used to have the wind that I used to have. But yeah, I still have like an appreciation for the sport and playing it.
If you were, this is kind of like a fun little hypothetical one for me. If you couldn't be a wrestler anymore, what do you think you would want to do with your life? Is there another thing that you could ever kind of fall in love with like that?
Like a different type of sport
Or
or
anything,
like
really?
wrestling not involved.
Because you're so
If I
involved in wrestling, you could be anything in the world, like make video games for a living. Like, what do you think you would do?
I mean, wrestling's like the one thing that I'm good at, so it's hard for me to answer that without like, because I feel like it would be easy for me to go like, oh yeah, I'd love to make video games, or I would love to, you know, uh, be a singer, or I'd love to do, all these types of things. But I think that like, I also look at it from like the logistics of like, man, I'd have to restart with that. My secondary career, funny enough, I don't know if you would ever be able to guess this about me, but my secondary career was always to be a defense lawyer, which is very, very far from like the actual professional wrestling aspect of things. You know what I mean? But that was always like a secondary dream career for me.
I am now picturing you as a defense lawyer, and that is like the funniest thing. Like you're sitting there, you're just like, I'll get. I don't know what I would do. I just hear you chanting forever and ever over in the courtroom now, and that'd be hilarious. But that's great. So basically, it's like you live and breathe wrestling. If you weren't wrestling, it'd be something wrestling related. It would be something wrestling.
Yeah. If there comes a day where I can't like wrestle in the ring anymore, I'll end up continuing to pursue coaching and having a school and that type of stuff and helping the next generation. But hopefully that day doesn't come anytime soon.
Oh, I hope not, because everybody loves your wrestling. You're one of those definite standouts. Like when I first went to my first RCW show, I remember I went with my friend Paul, Paul, and he was just like, dude, you got to see heavy metal. I know you've never seen him before, but you got to see this guy. And I remember when you first came out, I was like, immediately I was super drawn to you. You came out, you were with top talent, because it was you, Big Jess, who was everybody that was there? But there was tons of people there, and you were just in the ring, and everybody was booing you, and you were just taking it in. I was like, okay. Yeah, heavy metal is fantastic. I can just tell. All right, here's a fun question from Shout. Now, this one's completely out of left field. Now, you're famous for your beautiful hair as well as fantastic wrestling. What is your hair and beard care routine?
Listen, I take great care of my hair. My beard, not so much. This thing, I can't tame this worth a damn. By the time I start wrestling, I'm like a minute in and it's all the way out here. Listen, I don't even know if they would know these like products and stuff like that, but I'm an Olaplex man, so I use like the top of the line hair care for these luscious locks that I have. Yeah, so I use top of the line shampoo and conditioner. I make sure that I have detangler these days because it's very, very easy for this to get into a knotted mess. A lot of times after shows when my braid's coming out, it's dreaded. So, I'm working on that for like an hour trying to brush it all out afterwards, but this is my money piece up here. I don't ever want to have a day where I don't have that. So yeah, I take immense care of my hair. The reason why you see it in a braid these days and not like I used to wrestle with it down and like flowy. I don't do that anymore because a lot of people like step on it, or you'll be getting picked up from the mat, and it'll be under guys' shoes, and you'll get ripped out. And so yeah, so I try to keep it in a braid as much as possible when I'm wrestling, which sucks because I love the visual of it, but
just the hair whipping back and stuff, just free flowing hair.
Yeah, so. And what's funny, because I always used to wrestle with my hair down, and I remember when I first started wearing a braid, I was like, I have no idea how people do this, because like that's part of it, right? Me being able to swing my hair, and like that's like my vibe, right? And now I like a couple times my braid has come out while I've been wrestling, and I'm like, man, I don't know how the hell I ever wrestled with my hair down.
Here's a fun question from Eva Lawless. Please ask him his favorite wrestling theme, and why is it the Brood?
Oh, it's not the Brood. The Brood is good, but you want to know what my actual favorite wrestling
I 100% do
of all time? I don't know if this is going to come as a shocker or not, but it's My Baby Tonight, Jeff Jarrett. That's my absolute favorite wrestling theme of all time. I will have that on in my car while making towns. I have no problem listening to that at any time. It's just a good country song, checks all the boxes.
Everybody's got something strange about them, right? Like for me, my favorite wrestling theme, if I had to go of all time, is Goldust's original theme. I really love
the one with like that, like the Shattered Dreams opening.
Yeah, that dun. I fucking love that one. That one's on my playlist.
Wrestling themes aren't what they used to be.
No.
Like they used to be like you could hear the opening riff of something. Like, so my secondary wrestling theme is always Ass Man for Mr. Ass. That's my secondary wrestling theme. That's my go-to, you know what I mean? But you used to always be able to hear like these opening riffs and know exactly who that was coming out, right?
Oh yeah.
And wrestling themes changed so much over the years. So I do have like a more of an appreciation of those old WWF, like Volume 4, Volume 3, like the old anthologies and stuff like that, right?
Oh, for sure. I loved those old themes. Personally, I also loved The Brood as well. Great, fantastic theme, but I completely understand everybody's got different strokes for different folks, right?
That's right.
All right, here's a fun one from Shout. What influence has the all-time classic film Ready to Rumble starring Sting had on your career?
I love Ready to Rumble. I don't really know if it's influenced me at all, though, other than like Sal Bandini. That's who I envision myself when I'm in the ring, like training with people. If you ask guys like T.Y. Jackson, when I'm just like, hey, man, let's wrestle around for a little bit. A lot of the times I have them all tied up in knots. And that's like the first thing that I envision is like Sal Bandini. Want to wrestle? But a lot of people, with my new with my healer shtick that I do right now with like Let Me Heal You, they relate that to the King. So like I will rule you.
I will rule you.
Yeah, I never put that together, but now that I've been told it, I can't get it out of my head, But I can assure you that was not what inspired it, but I'll take it anyways.
Are you going to start adopting the top rope double axe handle into your repertoire?
Listen, I will. If you want me to do it, Anthony, I'll put an axe handle up there, no problem.
All right, next good question here from Mike. Which version of heavy metal did you find most interesting? Rock and roller heavy metal, top talent heavy metal, or the healer heavy metal?
That's a good question. I love the healer heavy metal because it's, the funny thing about like everything, like every chapter of like my story as heavy metal always like resonates with me somehow. You know what I mean? It usually tells a story as to like where I am in life. So I try to like relate it to like what's going on and like something that I can kind of latch onto. One of my favorite times is absolutely the top talent heavy metal because he didn't give any damns, he could say what he wanted, did what he wanted, was notorious for that. But the healer holds a special place in my heart just because it's different and it's cool. I get to be creative with it. A lot of the promos and the videos and stuff like that I get to do, I never got to do with any other like chapter of my story, right? So I get to be really creative with that type of stuff. I do a lot of studying in that to be able to fill that role nicely. So yeah, I would definitely have to say that the healer is probably my favorite version. I had a different version that was like cult leader-ish back in like 2015. I was doing like a lot of stuff for CWE in Manitoba. So I had like a bit of a cult back then. Maybe it was like 2014 or something like that. But that was a cool thing too. I did like the whole Illuminati shtick. So it's cool to be able to kind of round back that little bit of a dark character,
Absolutely. I actually have a really great one here because this one is actually something that I've always been kind of curious about as well, because from the first time I've met you to today, this question came from Wrestling Rodeo. Congratulations on your weight loss accomplishments. What advice would you give to somebody that is looking to make a similar body transformation?
Oh, man. Listen, I wish I had like a great story for like my weight loss. I'm very happy with where I am in like my life right now in terms of my body and stuff like that. I've always had body image issues up until I would say like 6 months ago. People used to say that exact same thing. Oh, look at you now. Like the transformation is insane. But when I'd look at pictures and that, I would see the exact same person. You could put them side by side. And I would see like the exact same person. It wasn't until about like, I'd say like 6 or 5 months ago where I started to go, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I do look a lot different than how I looked back then. But I didn't have like some wild story or anything like that. It was literally just being in the ring 7 days a week. I had a lot of stress. I was eating spicy chickens 3 times a day. You know what I mean? It was just calories in versus calories out. Wrestling 7 days a week pretty much like saved my livelihood in terms of like my body image, and then like as I like started to feel better and I was able to move around a lot better and I was feeling stronger, then I started to incorporate more of like the gym and stuff like that. And obviously I feel good these days. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm always striving to be better and better. But yeah, I don't have like a cool story as to how that transformation happened, but it was literally just, when I'm in the ring and I'm asking, people to do drills or do 1,000 squats or, do push-ups or run the ropes 500 times or whatever it may be, I'm a firm believer that I have to do it to be able to like be a team leader. You'll never see me like standing on the outside of the ring telling guys, girls do, specific things where, they're getting tortured. I'll be in the trenches with them, so naturally you just kind of, your body just kind of adapts to that, right? So, which is cool because I get to do a lot more fun stuff. I get to do like a lot more fancy stuff, which I don't really showcase a whole lot. But if you were to see me in the ring when I'm in here, you'd see like some of the wild things I'm able to do off the top or the springboards and stuff like that. So
you would say you're more of a leader than a boss because you're like, if I wouldn't ask you to do something I wouldn't do or couldn't do myself, kind of a thing.
Correct. Yeah, I firmly believe that I'll be in the trenches. I won't ever tell you to do something that I won't do. And I'm notorious for saying that here too. If I ask somebody to go on the top and do something or whatever it may be, or try a move or try a bump or, try a transition or whatever it may be, like, I'm not going to tell you to do something that I wouldn't do. I'll be the first person to try it to see if it's successful or to show you or walk you through it or, whatever it might be. But yeah, if we're doing 1,000 squats, I'm doing 1,000 squats with you. If there's a death day, I'm dying with you. I'm just a firm believer in that.
Well, it's also really good. Like, it's still great exercise, right? You might as well be joining them for it.
I'm already here. I might as, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I might as well get something out of it. Yeah.
Right? There's no point in just sitting around and watching, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? And I used to, like, when I was training, I had like a few different teachers when I was growing up in wrestling. And the ones that I hated the most were the ones that would literally just stand on the sidelines and go, oh, yeah, I want to see you do this, or, you got to do this. And it's like, man, let's see you do that,
Like, get in here and show it to me.
Yeah, like at the very least, show it to me. Show me how, you envision it being done, because I'm not going to teach you things that I don't know how to do, right? So teachers like that, I never really keyed to. Whereas like my trainer, Chi Cruz, I remember we used to do drills like crazy, and to the point where we would collapse. But one thing that I love about him is that he would do it with me, we would keep going. It's a competition to see who can outlast the other, and I firmly believe in being able to do that with people now and until I can't do that.
Man, that's so cool. I definitely need to sign up for one of these weekend camps because you make it sound like it's so much fun to learn from you. So I got to try this. Here's actually a fun one because you said you just had a group of that had just finished. You have another training wave coming in here pretty soon. Here's a question. Any top talent students that we should be on the lookout for in the near future?
Yeah, actually, you might even see a couple of them at We're Live Talk. You never know.
Oh.
But I will say, like, in terms of new students, I do have a couple that are going to be pumped out here, hopefully soon. There's a gentleman by the name of Emmett that has a Brazilian jiu-jitsu background. He caught on to wrestling really, really well, and was just super committed. The guy is just like not afraid to put in work, and I really, really like people that come in, and even if stuff is hard to get or they can't quite get it, they're willing to put in that work. I have no doubt that he'll have success in wrestling. I have a young lady in here by the name of Danica who's been training with me for, just at least over a year now. But man, some days the stuff that I see coming out of her is just insane. Just to watch where they started to where they are now is probably the coolest thing for me, because some days I'll watch them like run a spot or do something in the ring and I'll go, God damn, like, who taught you that? Like, how did you not even like, but how did you learn? How did that compute from where we were and where you started to where you are now? That's kind of like the fun part about it. So those two specifically out of like new students, I would say to keep your eyes peeled for. Out of guys that like come in and like try to perfect their craft, T.Y. Jackson's at the top of that list. That's a dude that, like, when I first met him, we were breaking bad habits on the daily, and sometimes that can be frustrating, but like he just stuck it out and he committed and he put in the work, and like you can see that now. Like his match that he just had with John Morrison in Edmonton was one of the wildest things that I've ever seen in my life, and I was so proud. I was probably prouder of that match for him than he was of like being in it, and I know that he was really proud of that. But like, to be able to watch somebody that comes to you and they're pretty good, and watch them get to a level where like they're incredible now is such a cool and like humbling thing, right? So yeah, definitely folks like that. Mitch Clark too is one of those dudes that like came in and has an insane background in fighting, mixed martial arts, and just watching him progress every single time he gets in here into like the wrestling aspect and be open to it, to be somebody who is very decorated in his background and still open to coaching is like, that's pretty cool, so being able to work with guys and girls like that, that's a pretty special thing for me, and I think that they're all going to be very successful.
Man, I can't wait. 16 days, everybody. We're going to be at We're Live, pal. I hope they'll all be able to join us. Here's a question from Big Vision. Now, obviously, when there's usually a big name that comes through Alberta, obviously we've seen you wrestle a large number of big names throughout your career. But Big Vision asks here, who is someone you would like to have brought in to wrestle, maybe that you haven't had a chance to yet?
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a good question. Funnily enough, I've checked a lot of boxes lately. I've had a lot of names on a list that I've been able to check off lately with like John Morrison and Ricky Shane Page and PCO and a secondary with like Silas Young and guys like that. So I've been really, really, really lucky to be able to get matches like that. Who would I want to wrestle on like, I would have prepared for that
one. There's a lot of great names out there. It's really hard sometimes to pick them out of the ether.
Probably like one that's at the top of the list and would be like a Malachi Black. I feel like that type of match would be right up my alley. So, and it's definitely on my list. And hopefully, you never know, one of these days we could kind of check that box.
I would love to see that match. That would be fucking insane. But I'm already super excited to see you versus Jordan Oliver. Like, that's going to be a huge match now coming up here in just 2 weeks. But man, Malachi Black, great choice, by the way.
Ooh. Yeah, Jordan Oliver is no slouch, man. I'm fully preparing for that cat. I've had him booked for quite some time since he went like viral with that like suplex he did off the rope, and then he brought it into like an Orange Crush powerbomb. It's insane.
You're like, since that moment, you're like, I'm wrestling that guy.
Yeah, legitimately, that's I watched that and I was like, yo, I'm gonna wrestle that guy. That's what I'm gonna do. And he had always been on my list for a long time, just because I'm a big fan of like Game Changer Wrestling. I watch a lot of that stuff, right? So, and I always watched his work there, and I thought, man, we'd be able to tear that up. You know, he's a young cat that's not afraid of going full tilt. You know, so neither am I.
No, that's for sure. Like I said, so Midway, you said they're gonna have food and drinks available. So like, get there like a half an hour before the show, get your food, get your drinks, and be ready for a great show.
Yeah, the doors will open at 6 o'clock. Come in, get your drinks. They have an insane, like they have like a special chef. I don't even know how to word it, but they have like specialty food and stuff there that they're really, really well known for. So come there, get a bite to eat, get some drinks, get as close to the ring as you possibly can, and just get ready for the wildest night of pro wrestling. Because let me tell you, I have a feeling that this show is going to be a tough one to follow.
Something special, as they would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we got a couple more quick questions here for you. Let's power through them before we end here today. The next one from Beast Tower. Would you recommend someone taller than Orion getting in the ring?
Well, absolutely. I'd love to see someone power over Orion. I think wrestling's for all shapes and sizes. You know, you'd be surprised at some of the people that roll through the door that maybe don't think that they can do it, and they end up taking to it no problem. So yeah, big dudes are hard to come by in wrestling, especially these days. So if you're taller than Orion, I hope to see you coming through that door. Make sure you duck as you're coming through the door. But yeah, hopefully you'll come into the school and come check out a mini camp or the 3-month program.
There you go. If you're at least like 6'6", Metal's got a place for you. Just go say hi.
Yeah, get on in here. I could probably think of like, I'll probably be bumping off of you. So.
All right, here's a quick question from Marz, the specialist. Got to ask after last week, especially since I know the answer. Do you drink your cereal milk?
I do not drink the cereal milk after the cereal is gone. I'm one of those dudes. I will, however, replenish the bowl with more cereal until the milk is gone. But if there's no cereal left, I will dump the milk out of the bowl.
This has become a very recurring thing I've noticed with Alberta wrestlers. You guys just don't finish your milk by the looks of it.
I prefer not even to use like real milk in my food. I'll use like an almond milk or an oat milk or something like that. And that's another topic that's up for debate, you know?
Well, here's a quick question for you then, since you like almond milk. Here's the big debate in my house. Almond Silk or Almond Breeze?
Oh, Almond Silk all the way.
Oh, 100. Yeah, Almond Breeze is gross.
Yeah, I actually can't even like... To be fair, I don't even know if I've tried an Almond Breeze, just because like the branding, I see the branding in my mind, and I always walk by. I go, I'm not going to try that one. I'm going to go Silk Almond all day.
I will continue to recommend Almond Silk or Silk Almond more than Breeze. Breeze is gross. Don't try it.
Yeah, is it Silk Almond or is it Almond?
I think
Silk?
It's Almond Silk. I believe it's Almond Silk, but
yeah, it's good. That's good to know. Yeah, because the dark chocolate all the way. The vanilla is good. Just the regular like unsweetened. That's all good too. You know, I got no problem with the Silk brand.
There you go. Well, there is potential sponsors for the future. Come on, Almond Silk. There you go.
If you all hit me up at toptalentbrand@gmail.com if you want to sponsor the show.
Right. All right. Here's a quick question from XXSocks234. Will we see Eva Lawless versus Heavy Metal one day?
Actually, I think you'll see Eva Lawless versus Heavy Metal this Saturday.
I was going to say, isn't that actually happening this weekend?
Yeah. Actually, Eva Lawless and I had one of my favorite matches, which is like I've had a lot of favorite matches over the past little while, but like we wrestled, it had to have been about a year ago now, probably last summer I think it was like last summer. And I had a banger of a match with her in front of like a capacity crowd in Calgary. it was a wild one. I think it's on YouTube, so y'all can check it out if you look up Eva Lawless versus Heavy Metal.
There you go. There you go, Socks. That's the answer there for you. All right, here's a quick question from Vicky198202. What made you become a good guy?
Age.
Age.
I'm getting old in my ways. Yeah. No, you know what it was? It was organic. I act no different now, really, than I always did. It's just the people are receptive to me. So I've never really like believed in like switching how I act or anything like that. It's just like as Top Talent went on, I would still just be like Top Talent Heavy Metal, and as when I was the healer, I'm the same healer now as I was then. I brutally murder guys on a weekly basis. It's just that people enjoy it, So and I think that they probably like appreciate the work that I put in, and they appreciate how hard I work on a weekly basis, and all the things, and just probably the coolness of it. But I change nothing about myself. But at the same time, I do have like a vast appreciation for the fans, especially these days, because man, wrestling fans, especially in like Edmonton, Calgary, all over Alberta, they are so supportive, especially if you look at like Real Canadian Wrestling that runs on a weekly basis. These people show up week in and week out. They buy merch, they buy pictures, they buy shirts, they pay for a ticket every single week. And every time I come through that curtain, I'll stand in the ring and I'll put my hand on my heart, because I truly do feel the love, and it's such a cool thing for me. To know that like people are there and they're supportive, and if they've been there throughout that whole journey. So y'all are the reason why I'm a babyface now. So
there you go. We made him a babyface, everybody. We cheered him too much. Here's a quick question from Perkins10. I don't quite understand, but he says, "Who are you throwing at me next?" I don't know if you know who that is, but
you know what? With Perkins, it's pretty notorious that they either on my suicide dives. I get a little wild in Calgary, so I throw people over the barricades, or I suicide dive, and whoever's on the receiving end, I'll end up overshooting them or barreling through them. I'll end up in the laps of the front row. So Perkins, I don't know who I'm wrestling in Calgary next, but whoever that is will likely end up in your lap.
There you go. What a sentence. I've got a couple quick questions just to finish this off here, because I'm genuinely curious about this. What is your favorite wrestling move? Not your favorite move to do, but what is your favorite one maybe to see?
My favorite wrestling move right now, I'm going to say this as like humbly as possible, but my favorite wrestling move right now is actually one that I do in the Tiger Driver that I do for a finish. The one where I like hook guys up and I'll raise them up to the roof.
Right.
I hold them up there and then I'll drop them down into a pile driver, just because like A, it's fun to do. B, it's fun to kill people with. C, it's cool to know that like I have something that I don't think has ever been done before. Because I get a lot of people that message me and they comment on it going, I don't know how you came up with that move, or that's wild, So that's easily my favorite move in wrestling right now. So unless anybody wants to top it, be my guest. Probably a good old fashioned last ride.
There you go. You like getting people up there essentially and throwing them down is your big
not
thing.
Even mine, but I love watching it too. I used to love when the Undertaker would just muscle guys up and have them in the rafters and then bring them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who would want to take a power bomb from like 10.5 feet in the air essentially?
Yeah,
like,
legitimately.
Jesus.
I don't know who would ever let somebody do that to them, but
what do you think the hardest move to take is in wrestling? Like what do you just hate taking?
Oh, yeah. That's the hardest move. Honestly, it probably would be like that power bomb type of move, just because no matter how strong you are, protected you are, you're always getting whiplash off of them. You know what I mean? But a secondary move that is hard to like, I wouldn't even say it's hard to take for the person that's on the receiving end of it. It's hard to give is like the coast to coast. I do that on occasion, and that's a rougher bump on me than anything. It just so happens that I make sure that I can put all my body weight into that. So
what you're saying is you have a lot of respect for Shane McMahon, essentially.
100%. Yeah. A, for getting that far across the ring, and B, for muscling through that bump as many times as he has. It's super impressive.
And that's a WWE ring. That ain't like a 60. That's like a 20-foot ring. Like, that's a long way.
that dude's getting some distance, you know? So
All right, last two quick questions here for you from JJ. Peanut butter ice cream or regular peanut butter? I know it's kind of strange, but I dig it.
I don't know if I'm going to be into peanut butter ice cream. I'll take regular peanut butter, I think. Yeah. But I'm open to trying the peanut butter ice cream. I don't think I ever have before.
It's good, except it's kind of rich, I find. It's kind of like when you have peanut butter, but you don't get the milk to drink afterwards, and you're like, this is a lot of peanut butter.
Yeah, no, I think I'm going to have to on that one, I'm just going to have to go for like the regular old peanut butter there. I don't like fancy myself a peanut butter man to begin with, you know, so I don't know if I'd go out of my way to do it. But like if you mix in a little bit of like chocolate chunks or something, that peanut butter ice cream, I'm all for that one, nice. You know?
Oh,
yeah. Is there like a peanut butter cookies and cream or a peanut butter cookie dough, or you know what I mean? You start meshing those together, and I'm all about that.
I'm sure there is. I would love to know, but
I'm gonna have to like trademark that if there's not. Somebody's gonna watch this and they're gonna create that and they're gonna make millions off of my my peanut butter cookies and cream ice cream here.
I'll say this. I'll throw my random crazy idea that I had once upon a time. How come they don't make ice cream sandwiches with Pop-Tarts? Because like,
oh, that would be badass,
right?
No, that would be badass. I'm into those. Lately, I've been into those Pop-Tart thins, those real thin ones. They're not any healthier, especially when they're like flushing whole box. But yeah, no, I'd totally get into the Pop-Tart thins. Also, like, you know how like Lay's wants you to like submit chips ideas to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why doesn't anybody do a donair chip or like a sweet sauce chip?
Yeah, that'd be good. I've always said that about mustard. I'm like, why isn't there like a Dijon flavored chip? Because that'd be amazing, right?
Yeah, you know what? I'd probably get behind a mustard chip for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
There's ketchup.
Ketchup's so prevalent. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. People keep asking questions now about peanut butter, so we'll just kind of pass through some of those super quickly. Crunchy or smooth peanut butter?
What do you got for the peanut? Oh, it's smooth all the way. Yeah, I'm not into the crunchy one very much.
Oh, okay. Actually, here's another quick one here from Disc. What's the worst thing to eat before a match?
Oh, Jesus. If you're for me, I try not to eat before matches in general, but I am also known for crushing a donair before a match as well. Nice. And suffering. Yeah, so I don't recommend it for anybody. There's a spot that I usually have if I'm like traveling between Edmonton and Calgary that I can never say no to. So I'll usually stop off in Red Deer and then I'll be moving slow for the rest of the night.
Do you want to drop the name of that place down just so people can try it one day?
Oh yeah, you can go to I think it's called Bedford Food Company. I just put in Bedford Donair, but yeah, there's like the closest thing to a Halifax Donair that I've ever had in Alberta, and they're pretty damn good. Hopefully they'll sponsor me as well. But but yeah, that's like one of the worst things. However, if you ask me what one of the worst things anybody else is eating, it's probably like a Tim Hortons sandwich, because I know that has come up in a match that I was in. So, and I've been forever turned off of any Tim Hortons sandwiches. So
you never have those again. I have a question here from TJ Cannon, but it's not a question. He just says, ask him about abandoned churches. Oh
yeah, so like God, the kids these days, you know, right. I like to go out when I like when I'm in towns and stuff like that. A lot of times I like to just go back to the hotel and relax. But sometimes when I get like a good group of people, I like to go out and I don't drink or anything, you know. I don't think they drink or anything either, come to think of it. But yeah, one time we were in, I think it was Lloydminster. It was TJ Cannon, Marz the Specialist, myself, and Silas Young, of all people. We were traveling around Lloydminster, just finding abandoned structures that we could go into, and I probably shouldn't be saying this on camera, but yeah, we were trespassing very, very clearly. Anyways, I tried to make TJ Cannon climb a church, and he ended up wussing out of it. So, but
wuss? No, I'm just kidding.
You know, the reason why I'm pissed about it though is because as the healer, I'm always looking for places that I could like film cool promos. So I thought, hey man, if you get up there, you can open up that window. I knew the exact way that he could come down. He could come open up the front door, or like, you know, whatever, boot it open, and then we could have filmed like a sermon. I could have, you know, I could have healed all of them. They weren't into it.
They're all like, no, we can't do that. We'll get in trouble. The cops will come.
Yeah.
But the good news, you're at church. You could just ask for forgiveness, I suppose,
Silas
right?
was the one closest enough to actually trespassing. He was ready to just rip the door off.
It's like, why not? I'm not from here. This is fine.
Yeah, I'm on a flight out of here, so it doesn't really matter.
All right, we'll finish with this one because this is actually a pretty fun one. What's the oddest venue that you've ever worked?
Oh, damn. I'll have to put some thought into that. I'm not a very good, have a terrible memory for, wrestling. The oddest venue that I've wrestled in. Yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my head. I know I've wrestled in a lot of little broken down bars. You know what I mean? Oh, you know what? Actually, I wrestled in some backwoods town in Alberta. I wrestled in one of those staging areas for where they do bull riding and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the whole ground was just dirt. Everything was just dirt. And then they had this area where there was how they corral cattle and stuff like that. So we would have to walk through all of this dirt to get to the ring. And then everybody would have dirty boots in that while we're in the ring wrestling. So you'd have to try to wipe it off on the apron so you're not tracking it around and then bumping into it. But they had a very, very large tractor there. And I ended up throwing one of the guys into the bucket, and there ended up being the key in the bucket. The key in the trailer or tractor. Threw him in the bucket and I turned it over and it started. And I've never driven one of these things before. I was just playing with this is while a match is happening, playing with the controls as this match is happening. He's in the bucket and all of a sudden he just started going up. And I think this bucket must have been at least 20, 25 feet in the air by the time I had him fully maxed out. And I drove him over to the bullpen area and I just tipped the bucket and I
dropped him in.
Dropped him probably about 15 or 20 feet, I think, at that point, because as the bucket would tip, it would kind of angle down a little bit, So I'd say that was probably one of the weirder ones, though.
That is a great one to end on, almost killing someone with a tractor. That's perfect.
Yeah, we don't talk about the almost killing part of it, but
he made it. He's fine. We're all good. Metal, thank you so much for joining me here today. This has been an absolute blast. I had a really great time. So thank you for taking the time joining me today, because I know you don't do interviews very often. So this was a real treat.
Yeah, man, it's very rare that I do them, but I actually had a blast chatting with you, Anthony. So I appreciate you asking, and it's very humbling to be on your show here and have you think so highly of me to put me on. So I appreciate you asking. I appreciate you chatting with me and having me on. So
anytime.
And I appreciate all the support. You guys have been hugely supportive of not just Top Talent, but of We're Live Pal as well. And I truly mean this from the bottom of my heart when I say thank you for the support. It does mean a lot to me, and it never goes unnoticed.
I can say, trust me, the pleasure is all ours over at the Canadian Wrestling Archive. We love your work. We were so happy to be able to sponsor and work with you for this. So I was super excited for that. Do you want to give your plugs before we're done here today? Talk a little bit about We're Live Pal, where they can finally get the tickets, where they can find you, all that good jazz.
Yeah, okay, so there's a lot here. For We're Live Pal tickets, you can head over to midwaymusic.ca, and you'll just find our event in the listing there and click on it. It'll take you straight to a click it link or a ticket link. You can also head over to www.toptalentwrestling.com. You can also click on tickets there and it'll take you straight to the ticket link as well. You can find us on Facebook at Top Talent Wrestling Academy, as well as Top Talent Wrestling. You can find the event on there, which will also take you straight back to the ticket link. For Top Talent Wrestling, you can find us on Twitter at Top Talent Brand. You can find us on Instagram at Top Talent Wrestling. And then, of course, our website that I just mentioned, toptalentwrestling.com. For myself, you can find me on Instagram at Heavy Metal Wrestling. And then on Twitter, I'm at Top Talent HM. And if you look up Top Talent HM, I'm also on Facebook and that as well. So, and if you are interested in training, anything like that, head over to the website, fill out an application on there. And or if you have questions or anything like that, you can email us, toptalentbrand@gmail.com. So lots of opportunities to be able to get in touch with me or someone here at the school that can put you in the right place.
Perfect. Thank you so much again, Metal. This was an absolute pleasure. I hope you have yourself an absolute wonderful night. Would you like to sign off to say anything to people before you go?
Honestly, just thank you. Thank you for the support. Whether it's from the school, whether it's for just like supporting me in my wrestling career, whether it's for supporting the upcoming event, I can't tell you all enough that I very, very much appreciate the support, whether it's a share, a like, a retweet, a message saying kind words. None of it goes unnoticed. I see it all. I see you. I appreciate you. And thank you all so much. So, yeah.
Perfect. All right, Metal, you have yourself a wonderful night, buddy. I will disconnect from you here. We'll say our goodbyes, but I'll send you a message afterwards.
Good. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. No problem. Have yourself a wonderful day, buddy.
You too.
Bye. Thank you once again to Heavy Metal for joining me here today. I had such an amazing time chatting with him about wrestling. It was so easy to just sit down and listen to his stories and engage with him and the audience. Man, it was like one of my favorites to this day. Anyways, I hope you all got to enjoy it as well. If you haven't, remember, hit that like button, subscribe. Go check out Heavy Metal's show this Thursday if you haven't, if it's not already happened yet, June 23rd, 2022. At Midway in Edmonton. It's going to be an 18-plus show. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait for it. I'm so excited. I leave tomorrow for my little trip up there because I'll be at the show. So anyways, much love to all of you. If you guys remember to, or if you guys want, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. Follow us and see what we do. You check us out on our social medias. I am at WrestleSode on Twitter. It is where I am the most active. And also, don't forget to go check out our amazing sponsors that we have here, like Backbreaker Media. And, of course, the Canadian Wrestling Archive, who hosts us every week. Much love to all of you. I will chat with you soon. See you next Tuesday.